Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another live video here. Yes, John, I see that you're waiting, but now I am here. And we actually don't have much time, so this is going to have to be a little bit faster than I wanted to. But in advance of the full show, which Brett Ehrlich will be joining me for, and this is our Friday show, which means that we will be ending the week with the garbage people of the week, as we've been doing the past few weeks. Tune in to find out who I think and who Brett thinks best exemplified living that garbage life this week. And before we get to that, though, interesting news. So the Daily Beast has a report on an internal research team for Fox News that puts together reports analyzing things in the news, in the media, and also things that Fox has been covering. And so they have this report. It's a 162-page document titled Ukraine Disinformation and the Trump Administration, created by Fox News senior political affairs specialist Brian Murphy. So he regularly does research for what they call the brain room in Fox News. It's the one place where you can find a brain, and looks into information, data, topic guides for the network's programming. And so this report was highly critical of the spread of disinformation around this topic, in particular on Fox News. A number of guests that were brought on over and over and over to continue to spread disinformation on Fox. And it's about as critical a look at what Fox News does as I've seen, although it was originally intended to be entirely internal. But thankfully, it has since been released. So let's take a look at some of what they found. So overall, one of the big highlights is attacking this Fox News contributor, John Solomon, who they say in the report played an indispensable role in the Ukrainian disinformation campaign, but also very interesting. Wait, hold on a second. I'm not sure, Herm, if anyone, well, that's why you're watching this. So Rudy Giuliani is also called out as amplifying disinformation. So in many cases, he's not the original source for it. John Solomon is cited as being the source of some disinformation, but Rudy Giuliani comes on and spreads it. And because he's affiliated with the Trump administration, it lends an aura of credibility to something that deserves none of it. Thank you for the happy belated birthday. I do appreciate that. Oh, by the way, everybody, if you could hit the like button early on. We don't have much time, unfortunately, but if you can help to spread it, I would appreciate that. So let's talk about sort of the bulk of the charges against Solomon. So is a former opinion columnist at The Hill, which is cool because I am too, so that's awesome, good company there, whose opinion pieces about Ukraine made unsubstantiated claims about its government interfering in the 2016 presidential election. John Solomon is not the only source for that conspiracy theory, but he is one of the biggest. And so he wrote all of these just absolute BS opinion pieces for The Hill, and then that was picked up by right-wingers, including personalities at Fox News. He's then brought on to Fox News to talk about these things. Rudy Giuliani would go on, and he would spread things that he read that John Solomon was posting, and Trump got obsessed with it as well. And so there are multiple sources for this, but he is one of the largest, one of the people that got us into the disaster that we're in. So let's see. Trump has also specifically cited Solomon's reporting on Twitter, so the connection is very clear there. If you're just joining now, this is a report that was produced by an internal research team at Fox News about the spread of disinformation around Ukraine. So Murphy urges Fox News employees to focus on a wide range of alleged journalistic misdeeds from Solomon, including, quote, non-disclosure of conflicts, use of unreliable sources, publishing false and misleading stories, misrepresentation of sources, and opaque coordination with involved parties. So effectively, every way that you could attempt to bamboozle people in the news, he was regularly doing. And he was being rewarded by Fox for that. So even as he was specifically being attacked by some of the far more credible witnesses during the impeachment inquiry, he was being brought onto Fox News even then, even as the misinformation that he'd been spreading was very clear. At some point, they do taper off on having him on. It becomes too indefensible, but they continue to have Rudy Giuliani on. Murphy specifically cites Giuliani as, quote, having a high susceptibility to disinformation, which is, so he's both attacking Giuliani as a source for the disinformation, but also cites that he doesn't appear to be able to tell when something is true or false. And yet he was brought onto Laura Ingraham and Sean Hannity and all of that over and over and over again. YouTube channel says, talk about the DNC rigging Iowa. Who cares about Fox? First of all, we've talked about the issues in Iowa. The DNC is not involved in running state-level elections, but we've talked about that all this week. And I mean, we just came out of an impeachment inquiry about this disinformation campaign, so I'm going to cover that as well. Let's see. They also cite two individuals, Joe DeGenova and his wife. They were both also brought on for months and months and months to spread this disinformation. Huge Trump supporters. That's why they were brought on. Eventually, Joe is taken off briefly. John, thank you very much for that belated birthday greeting. Very nice of you. Because he referred to George Soros controlling the U.S. State Department, which is just about the most old school anti-Semitic trope possible, and has not been on him or his wife since December. So that is good news. So understand that coming out of this report, some of the people. Are you insane? It's shown that the DNC is controlling the election in Iowa. The state Democratic parties run the elections. The DNC does not individually run elections inside of the states. It's not to say that there can't be any connection, but we have to be specific about the terminology that we use. The DNC does not control the internal workings of every state party and every state election. If you have an issue, and you should, with how Iowa's run, there's lots of blame to go around. The Iowa State Democratic Party deserves that blame. But the DNC does not control every aspect of state elections. And I understand that there's going to be some misinformation around this first contest. But as we go forward through this set of primaries and caucuses, people need to understand how elections are actually run. And I understand on Twitter and social media, there's a lot of people who don't know a damn thing about elections that are they're just spouting off stuff that seems in the moment to like fit with what you believe. But you have to go to people who actually understand how these things works. And the DNC simply does not control every aspect of these state elections. It would be convenient because then we could just say the DNC is bad. But the issue is that the DNC is bad and the state parties are making mistakes. We have to be specific about who's making mistakes. And there's a lot of blame all around. I did also want to briefly mention, this has to be very brief because we don't have much time. Caucus system is barely democratic. I mean, look, it's been absolutely terrible. There are theoretically good things about caucuses, but they can't be run in the modern day. They don't know what they're doing. I'm not like I understand. There's all sorts of things I could tell you that would make me super popular and likable and whatever in this area, but I'm not gonna deceive you. I'm just not. We can identify the actual issues and attack the people who are actually responsible. We can't just spread simplistic narratives because it feels good in the moment. What's the best alternative you think to caucuses? I think elections are pretty good. I think that those generally, I mean, they have issues too, but anyway, I also wanted to just put on your radar going forward something to bear in mind as the election goes on, that Barr has now provided a directive, a memo to the FBI, that before they do any investigation of any 2020 presidential candidates, it has to go through him. So that might seem good, maybe, if Trump were to try to get people to investigate Bernie or whatever. That's good. But it also means that they can't initiate any investigation of Donald Trump, who is himself a participant in the election without it going through Barr, a guy who tried to shut down the whistleblower complaint that led to the impeachment inquiry. So this is the sort of thing that, because it's like an internal memo, it has to do with the Justice Department, generally doesn't get discussed very much. But, I mean, that's huge. If he can internally shut down without people knowing about investigations that seem merited into Donald Trump. So just remember that. You obviously have to have paper ballots. They had sort of a version of that in Iowa, but there are reasons to believe that not all of them ended up actually being turned in. That's a huge issue. I believe that eventually we will know the actual results from Iowa, but there's a million different concerns coming out of it. Hopefully it will have an effect on Nevada, which if this had not been as obviously a disaster, could have ended up going in the very similar direction. But anyway, as I said when I had Ryan Grimm on yesterday, like if you're a Bernie supporter, you should be pissed off at the process. But I do think in the end it is going to end up helping Bernie Sanders quite a bit. There was so much more attention on it, and we can see the outcome of it. Opinion polls of people talking about who they're more likely and less likely to vote for as a result of Iowa. Nobody gained more than Bernie Sanders from that. So be pissed off at the process. Push for it to be reformed, but don't be fooled into thinking that this helped Joe Biden somehow. It clearly didn't. You can actually, we're not hypothesizing. We can look at the actual effect that it had on people, and it didn't help out someone like Biden. Okay, so we've only got 10 minutes. So Brett is going to be joining me. We got a lot that we're going to get to, so you're definitely going to want to stick around. I'll see you in just a little bit. Got to go do that last minute prep.